Are you attracted to me?
What?
Are you attracted to me? You give me indications that you are. Do you think about me when we aren't together?
Most AI movies want to explore what artificial intelligence might do to us, but Ex Machina turns it around. It asks the question of, what will we do to AI? And then it lets the AI win. No other film about AI has gone this far when it comes to turning empathy into a weapon and turning the viewer into the subject. See, the movie doesn't ask you to understand AI. It dares you to trust it, and in return, well, that makes us the experiment. Ex Machina was the first feature-length film written and directed by Alex Garland. It's a film about a young programmer who's invited to administer a groundbreaking Turing test on a highly advanced AI, only to uncover a sinister web of manipulation, desire, and deception that questions what it truly means to be human. And believe it or not, this film is actually the result of a 20-year argument that Alex had with one of his close friends, a neuroscientist, about one of humanity's oldest and most unnerving questions: where does consciousness come from? Alex believed that it emerged from the complexity of systems, that it could be replicated, built, maybe even accidentally sparked by the right machine. But his friend believed otherwise. To him, consciousness wasn't just a byproduct of code or neurons. It was something deeper, maybe even unreachable by artificial means. And this disagreement became the foundation of Ex Machina, and not just as a story, but as the emotional and thematic spine to explore how a machine could be more than its creator. Throughout this analysis, we'll explore how Ex Machina redefines the Turing test by removing the element of deception, how the film manipulates the audience into empathizing with the machine, and why the director deliberately avoids showing us the outside world. So the first question is, what is the Turing test? Well, over the years, the definition of a Turing test has changed, but the overall purpose has remained intact. It was created by British mathematician Alan Turing as a way to measure a machine's ability to show intelligent behavior. The original idea from 1950 was text-only communication, like typewritten messages. He called it the imitation game. And the reason he chose text was to remove bias, so that things like appearance, voice, or body language wouldn't influence the judgment. The only thing being tested was how the machine thinks and responds in a conversation. Alright, so the way it works is that a person talks to both a human and a machine, but they can't see who's who. Only text communication, like in a chat, and if the person can't tell which one is the human, then the machine has now passed the test. That means it's good enough at acting human that it fooled someone into thinking it is human. Today, the concept of a Turing test has evolved. While text is still the most common format, it's not a strict requirement anymore. People now apply the test idea to spoken conversations, robots with faces, or even virtual avatars. But regardless of how it's done, the point stays the same. Can a human tell whether they're interacting with a machine or another human?
I'm not a real person, and that's the point.
So in Ex Machina, the big question is, can Ava, the AI, convince Caleb that she's more than just a machine? Not just because of how smart she is, but because of how human she feels. The film completely eliminates the mystery factor of the Turing test, and instead it reveals the truth from the beginning. We are already aware that Ava is a robot.
It's just in the Turing test. She should be hidden from the examiner.
No, we're way past that. If I hid Ava from you so you just heard her voice, she would pass for human. The real test is to show you that she's a robot and then see if you still feel she has consciousness.
Caleb begins to feel bad for Ava and even cooks up a plan to help her escape.
Caleb, you have to help me.
I'm going to.
Things start to become so mind-boggling for him that he even begins questioning his own biological humanity by cutting himself open to check for wires. But one of the most clever aspects of this movie, even before Caleb becomes fully manipulated, is that within the first 25 minutes, Nathan's AI has already passed the basics of a Turing test. And many viewers may have missed this moment as well, but it actually occurs when Kyoko enters Caleb's room the first morning during his stay. He's already convinced that this moment that she's human, and it's not until later that he finds out that she's a robot. That was actually the experience that triggered him into spiraling and thinking that maybe he himself was also a robot. And although they never speak to each other because Kyoko was designed by Nathan not to speak, it was her body language and realistic movements that convinced Caleb. Because if you remember from what I've already mentioned previously, that within itself is its own form of Turing test. Now the film presents many forms of manipulation, and one of the first steps it takes towards this approach is having the story told initially from Caleb's perspective. perspective, someone who already feels bad for Ava. From his perspective, Nathan's mistreatment of the machines is wrong. And after bonding with Ava and hearing her say that Nathan can't be trusted, Caleb begins to question everything: Nathan's motives, the experiment, and even his own role in it. And although this isn't a review, in my personal opinion, I do think the character of Caleb grows to trust everything coming from Ava a little too quickly. The movie uses title cards to represent every session that Caleb has with Ava, and in total they have 7 sessions throughout the film. During their second session, right after a power outage, is when Ava tells Caleb that Nathan isn't his friend and that he shouldn't trust him. And Caleb almost instantly begins to sympathize with and trust Ava. And remember, this is their second session. A clear sign of this comes during him and Nathan's first dinner together, when Nathan asked him what was discussed during the power outage. And instead of telling the truth, Caleb lies and says nothing happened, already showing early signs of Ava's influence and manipulation. But to be fair, to a certain extent, we can't fully blame Caleb for it, because he was technically manipulated by Nathan and Ava simultaneously. I mean, he was specifically handpicked for this experiment after Nathan collected his search history and behavior data. Then he went on to design and build Ava to appeal to Caleb's preferences, revealing how Caleb was the real test subject all along. So yeah, that explains how Caleb was manipulated. But what about us, the audience? If you found yourself feeling sorry for Ava, then what techniques did Alex Garland use to make you sympathize with her as a viewer? Well, we're going to talk about that right after I pay some bills with a quick message from today's sponsor, CyberGhost VPN. With over 38 million users worldwide and over 20,000 excellent reviews on Trustpilot, it's one of the best VPNs available. And I'm sure you guys are already aware, but a VPN is essential for protecting your digital privacy. Every time you browse the internet, there are many eyes following you. And even incognito mode doesn't fully protect you. Your internet provider, your school, your job, and even your home Wi-Fi router can track what you do online. And no one wants that, right? And this is where CyberGhost VPN comes in. Simply select one of their more than 100 locations before browsing to encrypt and redirect all your traffic through their secure servers. This way, no one can see your online activity. CyberGhost also unblocks geo-restricted content and games on over 40 streaming platforms. You can change your virtual location to a different country and access up to 50% more content on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and many others. It works on Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and you can protect up to 7 devices simultaneously, which is perfect for sharing with friends and family. With my link in the description, you get their best deal, just $2 per month with 4 months free, which is equivalent to an 84% discount. Plus, with their 45-day money-back guarantee, you honestly have nothing to lose. It's an excellent product that I highly recommend, and if you sign up using my link down below, you also support the channel and the full-time content creator dream. And thanks again to CyberGhost VPN for sponsoring today's video. So now that we've seen how Caleb was manipulated, here's the twist. If you felt sorry for Ava, then you, the viewer, was also being manipulated. But let me show you exactly how Alex Garland pulled it off. First, he limits Ava's perspective to only Caleb's view. Almost every time we see Ava throughout the film, it's through Caleb's perspective. We don't get a scene where she's alone thinking, planning, or reflecting. Instead, every bit of behavior is filtered through Caleb's interactions with her, which almost nudges us to subconsciously trust Caleb's judgments. And only towards the end of the film, leading up to her escape, is where the camera begins to cut to Ava alone, as she eventually transitions to becoming our new main character. Now, whether these aspects of the film convinced you or not, that's not really the point. The point is to acknowledge the film's approach at attempting to convince you. By controlling what we know about Ava, Alex limits our ability to question her intentions. Another thing the director does is he establishes Ava as a victim from the start. From the moment she's introduced, Ava is framed as innocent, curious, and gentle, imprisoned without having done anything wrong, fearful of Nathan and desperate to escape. This narrative setup echoes familiar tropes: the imprisoned woman, the tyrannical captor, and the potential rescuer, inviting the audience to take her side without question. Alex uses storytelling shorthand to make us feel like we already understand Ava's role. She's the victim and Caleb's the hero. And just to make sure we're on the same page, storytelling shorthand refers to the use of familiar tropes, character types, visual cues, or narrative setups that quickly convey meaning to the audience without needing a detailed explanation. It's like a narrative cheat storytellers use to communicate complex ideas fast because they trust the audience to recognize the pattern. Some examples of this is how a character in a lab coat in a lab equals a scientist, or how a woman locked in a room, soft-spoken and fearful, is a victim or a damsel, or how glasses in books equals a smart or nerdy character. These are universal visual or narrative shortcuts filmmakers use because audiences instantly get what they mean. Now in Ex Machina, the script never gives Ava clear motive or explanation for her actions. She never says, I want to be free because I want to explore the world, or I want to experience life. Instead, we're left to fill in the blanks based on her tone, her expressions, and her vulnerability. This omission is intentional. It's so the director can let us project our own assumptions onto her, just like Caleb does. We feel like we know her, but everything we think we know is based on interpretation and not truth.
Does Ava actually like you or not? Or whether she's pretending to like you.
Well, why would she do that?
I don't know. Maybe if she thought of you as a means of escape.
The final twist is the reveal of our test, the audience. When Ava escapes and leaves Caleb behind, it recontextualizes everything. It's not just Caleb who was used, it's us too. If you felt any sympathy, wanted her to escape, and never questioned her deeper motives, then Ava passed her test. She convinced us. But this also means we failed Garland's test. We misjudged her. The moment Ava shuts the door, Garland reveals that we were part of the experiment all along. And this is also represented very heavily in the cinematography. And if you were wondering about those telltale signs in the cinematography, well, let's take a look at them. When Ava goes to enter the elevator to leave the lab where Caleb is trapped behind the door and Kyoko and Nathan are on the floor dead, we watch Ava step into the elevator from Caleb's point of view. But the final shot actually isn't from his perspective. It's from ours. The camera faces her directly from a spot where no character is standing. And as the doors close, the camera slowly pushes in as if we are the ones being left behind. This is Garland's quiet way of telling us, like Caleb, we were never just watching. We were being manipulated as well. So yeah, once again, that's the film attempting to manipulate us using techniques like limiting perspective, using familiar character tropes, withholding motive, echoing real-world power dynamics, and flipping the narrative at the end, all to make us feel like we're observing when in reality, we're participating in a Turing test of our own. And the final aspect of the film that I would like to explore is something subtle, but hugely important. Why did Alex Garland deliberately avoid showing us the outside world? I mean, sure, on the surface, this could be chalked up to budget restraints. The film is contained, minimalist, and focused on just a few characters. But narratively, it feels intentional because by isolating us inside of this sterile, high-tech compound with Caleb, Nathan, and Ava, Garland isn't just saving money. He's controlling our world. He's cutting us off just like Caleb is cut off, and maybe that's the point. By keeping the outside world hidden, Garland makes the compound feel like reality itself. There's no context, no anchor, only the test. It makes Ava's desire to escape feel abstract and almost mythical. Some viewers might actually want her to get out, but to where? That's before we actually see the outcome of the film. It also reflects a larger theme. Artificial intelligence raised in isolation. Ava's never seen the outside world, and neither have we. So when she finally steps into it, it's not a moment of clarity, it's actually a moment of mystery. We're left to wonder what she'll become once she's unobserved. And Garland may be suggesting that true intelligence and true danger begins not when AI fools us, but when it starts making its own choices and no longer needs our permission. And because we never see what that world looks like, we're left with a lingering unease. She's out there somewhere, and we have no idea what happens next. See, most AI films flood us with futuristic cities, flying cars, or massive societal shifts. But Ex Machina does the opposite. It strips away the future entirely, and in doing so, it goes further than any AI movie at this time has ever gone. So after everything we've explored, the manipulation of Caleb, the emotional baiting of the audience, the haunting ambiguity of Ava's escape, the eerie decision to never show us the outside world, it becomes clear that Ex Machina isn't just about artificial intelligence. It is artificial intelligence in cinematic form. And yeah, I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but in a lot of ways it's true. It doesn't just ask if a machine can think. It tests whether we, the audience, can think clearly in the face of emotion, empathy, and control. It pushes the boundaries of what stories about AI can do, and not with tension or spectacle, but with silence and tension and the terrifying power of subtlety. No other film about AI has ever turned the Turing test on the audience, or left us questioning whether we passed. Ex Machina doesn't ask if a machine can fool a human. It asks if we're even capable of recognizing when we're being fooled. And by the time we've even realized it, well, the test is already over. And don't forget to click the link in the description to claim your exclusive CyberGhost VPN discount at only $2 a month. It keeps your data protected while browsing and unlocks access to blocked content around the world. It's completely risk-free, so be sure to head over today and check it out.